Greetings, welcome to the Rantscast. And forewarning, this episode is political. It's going to be a bit more political in nature. I've been taking some time to really get into the various platforms. And I'm not going to lie and pretend like I read everything of each and every party, but I've read enough. And I'm going to zero in on the NDP because I worked for them. And by worked for them, I mean I worked in one of their call centers in the federal election in 2015 for a few months. So I'm gonna get into the key things that, and again, everybody as an individual has their own specific things that they look for when they look at these parties and their platforms. Yes, there's this vague notion of the greater good, but for the most part, people zero in. Let me not pretend like I'm gonna, tell people what they do or don't do. But in my experience with dealing with people, especially from a voter contact scenario, it's much easier to either persuade people to vote for your party based on whatever it is that they specifically, like we would literally ask people, what is it that specifically matters to you? Then the voter tells us, then we engage them on that issue. So this is what we're going to do. And, we're going to go through the specific things in the platform that mean a lot to me. And if you've been listening to this show, you can probably guess mental health and the arts, and I guess / tech, if you want to kind of put that in there too. So, a message from Andrea Horvath. Dear friends, I'm running for premier because now is the time for change for the better. It's time for something completely different. People are feeling cynical about Ontario politics today. After 15 years of Liberal government, families are feeling squeezed. Services have been cut and people are working harder, but not getting ahead. After decades of switching between Liberal and Conservative premiers, things just seem to go from bad to worse. It's time to stop settling. Let's replace the cynicism with hope. Let's have a government that listens, that gets it, that solves problems instead of creating them. Let's make drug and dental coverage a reality for every last Ontarian. Let's make university and college, hydro bills, and childcare all more affordable for everyone. Let's invest in services like transit and affordable housing. Let's make the big changes our healthcare system needs to cut the wait times and end hallway medicine. Let's get it done. Andrea Horvath, leader, Ontario's NDP. Now, as I was saying, people tend to vote on the specific things that resonate with them. And when I think of, if you're like a single mom or whatever, a parent in general, but I mean single moms definitely vote based on the childcare thing, right? So this is all just to say that. And then, and I'm sure if you're a teacher, you're going to be voting specifically based on those, the various talking points in the platform there. And those specific issues. And even if you're a parent too, I don't need to really go into too many details with this and try and overcomplicate it. You know what I'm talking about. Now, so we're going to go, let me see, I'll bookmark this and see if it's still there. Here we go. So this particular section, a modern economy that works for everyone. And in here, I bookmarked and highlighted the culture section. So, Andrea Horvath and the NDP believe a career in the arts shouldn't mean a struggle to get by. The Ontario Benefits Program and Universal Pharmacare will help ensure that people working in the arts have benefits like access to drugs and dental care and make us more attractive for film and TV projects as they consider production locations. The very first time I read this particular section, when it said access to drugs and dental care and make us more attractive, my mind immediately jumped to nobody wants to hire somebody with busted teeth anyway for any kind of film project. Anyway, we will stabilize annual funding for the Ontario Arts Council and the Ontario Media Development Corporation and ensure it meets the needs of both new and established artists. We will establish a new $50 million fund over the next 5 years out of the Jobs and Prosperity Fund to match TV and film industry investment in new studio space. We will work with municipal governments to streamline zoning for new and expanded TV and film production facilities. We will maintain stable, predictable, and competitive tax credits to bring productions to Ontario and keep those jobs here. And our $10 million investment to allow libraries to give out passes to museums and galleries will move more people through those important cultural centers. Two things about this. Expanded, they keep saying TV and film production. I know they're referring to legacy TV and film production. Though, understandably, I guess that's more like an umbrella term for any even involved. It would be nice to make a distinction between, the legacy media and the new media, just so it's not like they're trying to protect their beloved traditional TV and film. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it's not important to many people listening to this, but I think it's a distinction that needs to be made, especially if we're speaking from a general idea of empowering youth, allowing youth to have their own kind of a voice, improving the extracurricular activities of youth, tying that into education. You got to put the new media, you got to make that distinction, you got to speak to them from that standpoint as well. Let the new media also have its funding separate from the legacy media. It's not specific to a platform, right? Like, youth want to be involved in TV and film too. It's not as distinct as maybe in my head I'm thinking it, but it's important to note, because many of these teens are looking first to YouTube and Instagram and all of these sites and all these networks as their version of TV and film. So that's my kind of thought on that. Whether or not, I'm sure someone's like, that doesn't matter. Fuck that, it matters. Now, there's something else here. Oh yeah, the mental health section. Let's see, mental health. I should have bookmarked it. Give me 1 minute here, good old page 32. Overhauling mental health and addictions services. A dedicated ministry of mental health and addictions. We will establish a new dedicated ministry of mental health and addictions. We will ensure access to mental health care for more than 28,000 more Ontarians every year by hiring 2,200 new mental health care workers. We will build 30,000 new supportive housing units. We will cut children's mental health waits to a 30-day max with a $590 million investment. And right now I feel like Guy Pearson Memento, because I have a thought and I don't know whether I'm going to be able to complete this thought by the end of okay, now that I'm talking about it, I might as well just say it. Let's bookmark in my mind where I'm where I'm at now. And that's interesting that I say that, because in that movie, okay, so Memento is one of my favorite movies. It features Guy Pearce. It's about a dude it's based on an actual real condition, and there's not many people in the world that have this condition, where you have you have a very, very short-term memory. So in the movie, Guy Pearce, so it's a Christopher Nolan film. This might have came right before Batman, whatever Batman that was, the first one there. Now, the quote-unquote first one. Anyway, so Guy Pearce in the movie, he gets into basically his wife, he's in bed with his wife. Some intruder breaks in. He tries to defend her before she gets raped. The guy hits him in the back of the head. He then gains a condition where he has no short-term memory. He can't form new memories. And so throughout the film, he's basically trying to avenge the rape and murder of his wife. It's a very, trying to explain it now is going to be very long and complicated. But I'm talking about this now, and you're listening to this clearly on the internet. Wikipedia this, or Google this. Memento featuring Guy Pearce. He can't form new short-term memory. So that kind of what I was doing there when I was like, I need to bookmark this right now in my mind because I'm not going to remember. I'm not going to remember it by the end of the reading of the section within the platform. That's exactly what happens to him throughout that movie. So, and there's I think there's one guy who's a pianist. So the real guy who has this condition, he can remember everything. Like he can play piano like beautifully and all that and so on. But he does not remember very simple things in the day-to-day reality that he just can't function. Like you have no short-term memory. You don't know what's going on, right? You know what? Let's talk about this right now. Man with I know this is totally going off. I can't believe I'm actually doing this right now. Man with no short-term memory. Clive Wearing, born 11th of May 1938, is a British musicologist, conductor, tenor, and keyboardist who has chronic anterograde and retrograde amnesia. He lacks the ability to form new memories and also cannot recall aspects of his past memories, frequently believing that he has only recently awoken from a comatose state. Amnesia. In 1985, then an acknowledged expert in early music at the height of his career with BBC Radio 3. So I watched this documentary, or his YouTube video. He contracted herpes viral encephalitis, a herpes simplex virus that attacked his central nervous system. Since that point, he has been unable to store new memories. He can't control his emotions. It's damage to the hippocampus, which is required to transfer memories from short term to long term. He can't form new lasting memories. They last between 7 and 30 seconds. He feels like he's always waking up every 20 seconds, restarting his consciousness once the time span of his short-term memory elapses. So on. So the movie with Guy Pearce, I guess we're on Wikipedia, might as well read it so I don't just butcher it. Memento is a 2000 American neo-noir psychological thriller. Yep, he has anterograde amnesia, short-term memory loss every 5 minutes. He's searching for the person who attacked and killed his wife, using an intricate system of Polaroid photographs and tattoos to track info he can't remember. So it's presented as 2 different sequences of scenes interspersed during the film. The black and white is chronological. The colors are backwards. All right, so y'all can check that out. It's worth. Who else is in there? Yeah, Carrie Ann Moss is in there. Joe Pantoliano is also in there. It's one of my favorite movies. Now, damn it! Now I forgot what else. Give me 1 minute. Yeah, this is funny. Anyway, so the thing that I was going to say as I was reading the section about a dedicated ministry of mental health and addictions was and I know this is a legal thing, and I know this can't really be avoided, but I was thinking about how when you meet, like in my own dealing, like interacting with people in recovery and people overcoming things and addictions and overcoming mental health battles, and I think I've spoken about this before, there's this tendency to, when you come out of an experience, addictions or whatever, you want to work immediately in that capacity, like in that kind of a career, in that role. But by the time you get there, by the time you clean up, you probably have developed you've probably caught a series of charges. You've caught multiple cases. You got a record of sorts. And so what happens then? So many of these people will go and do like one of these courses, like the social service worker course, or you'll try and be a social worker, and then it's like down the road, whether it's far down the road or whether it's even closer in the journey, you realize that you have a record, and then you can't actually work in that career, right? Like they do a criminal records check, and I know that's part of that is too is that people aren't researching these things before they try and pursue that career. But I don't know whether, and I know that there's a legal part of it too. Like if you were committing armed robbery, but even if you're like 20 years away from your addictions and crime life and so on, and you committed armed robbery, and then now you clean it up and you see the light and you now want to really work in that sector, and then now it's like you can't. And there's all kinds of other stuff you can do. And I guess actually now in this new age, you can probably sidestep a lot of that, right? Like if you just start streaming and you're like let's say you just position yourself as like someone that streams, and you're like, yeah, I've overcome shit. I stream, talk to me, and then people can just talk to you, and it resonates. This is another thing, sidestepping the conventional gatekeepers, using these platforms. So if you have a record and you want to actually be a drug counselor, you can kind of you can do it, right? I know it's a cowboyish, like renegade way to do it, but you can do that, I guess. You know what I mean? Anyway, because I remember I went to there was this AA conference, and one of the speakers, I feel like maybe I shouldn't be name dropping him, but he was promoting himself, so I guess it doesn't matter. Some CFL player called Alvin something or other, Williams maybe. I don't watch football. I'm not a football fan. I think his name's Alvin Williams. Let me Google this guy while we're actually here. Let's see what comes up when you type in Alvin and the Chipmunks. Alvin Leon Williams. No, that's not him. That's a basketball player. Alvin. Well, let's type in Alvin CFL. There's a lot of Alvins in the CFL. Alvin Washington. Anyway, there's this CFL player, Alvin something, and he caught some charges in his drug addiction years and so on. His years as an addict, I should say. But now he's become basically a counselor, because he's an influence. First of all, it's a personality thing, like combination of personality, combination of people trust you, combination of he's cleaned his act up, and people are literally like young people's parents will actually, send those kids to him to put him in a counseling role, to speak to them and talk to them. He's like borderline motivational speaker kind of a thing. Anyway, so that was the overall theme of why I went totally off script as far as reading the Ontario platform, because they're talking about all these mental health workers, hiring new mental health workers. There's a whole bunch of people who want to, and there's a whole bunch of people who will be more than ready to, but they won't ever become that, at least in the conventional way, as I was saying. Another thing too is another side. This is another side. Whoa, sorry, lost the headphone input. Yeah, so another side tangent, I guess, is apparently if you work. This is another thing too. Like let's say you're somebody who was on ODSP or OW, and you're like, you know what, I want to really do that role because I saw the gaps in that particular system. I saw the flaws, and there's many flaws, I guess, in the ODSP and the OW system. You want to go and be a caseworker to help with people. Maybe your caseworker sucked and was like shitty and give you a shitty attitude all the time and so on and so forth. Or you got bounced around between caseworkers, or your caseworker was never on the ball. All of these things. You then want to become a caseworker. Guess what? You can't. This is something that I actually, I dug into the net and found this particular piece of information. It's like, oh, so then it's more of it's like an administrative role that they fill with people from other sectors of the government or just administrative types. It's not so much an experience thing. It's like you have X skills, you then work this job. Anyway, let's continue reading because I've ranted. I've gone on such a tangent that now I'm behind in the script. Let's see if I can get this done here. We will cut children's mental health weights to a 30-day max with a $590 million investment. We will hire 400 more mental health care workers in order to provide mental health supports in every high school. We will invest $100 million in Ontario's dementia strategy. Today, 11 ministries across government develop a patchwork of programs and services for mental health and addictions. The result is predictable and damaging. A confusing, hard to navigate system with far too many cracks for people to fall into. It has been 8 years since the legislature select committee on mental health and addictions recommended urgent changes to the way we approach those issues. Sorry about that. But the Liberal government has ignored most of these recommendations. There's a critical shortage of the support housing that lets people dealing with mental health challenges live independently while getting the supports they need. And wait lists for mental health services are outrageously long. An estimated 12,000 children are waiting for mental health care. Today, there are 63% more children in the ER for mental health issues than there were in 2006, and 67% more hospitalizations. Tragically, suicide is now the second leading cause of death for children between ages 10 and 24. We have to do better, and we can. Instead of tinkering with a broken system, let's transform mental health care for the better. Our change for the better. Andrea Horvath and the NDP government will establish a dedicated Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions. It will have one job, coordinating and building the integrated mental health and addiction services that Ontario needs delivered close to home, consistently and comprehensively across the province. I'm going to have to pick up the next page in the next... let me just keep reading. No, there's no time. Okay, I'm going to pick this up in the next episode. Peace.